were able to join and enjoyed our evening of comedy last Wednesday night. Silence. Thank you.
Rudy, can you hear us?
No.
All right.
Oh, no. Before you start, Rudy, would you ask Stella if she got an invitation from Naomi about New Year's Eve?
We're streaming.
You're the only one that didn't respond.
I'm recording.
We're recording and streaming. What does this have to do with the Arizal?
Oh, jeez. Okay,
Right.
never mind.
Welcome, because they're serving schnitzel. Welcome to Garden of the Spirit, the class studying apples from the orchard for the second time around. This class meets in Long Meadow, Massachusetts, the center of the universe. You know, when I'm here, I really believe it. But anytime I travel, there's a world out here. It is held in memory of Malka Ruth Bas Moshe, Margaret Vogel of blessed memory. Rudy, when's your mother's yard site?
Dallenstraat.
Dallenstraat in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Apples from the Orchard contains selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, based on the weekly Torah portion. Superbly.
Losing sound.
Oi.
You froze.
Audio.
Hi, you froze.
Audio.
Oi.
You froze.
See?
What?
You froze.
You froze.
We didn't hear the end.
Audio.
I'm sitting next to the stupid
Well,
router.
We got 3 people who are telling you they didn't hear you.
Not you. It's what am I paying?
Maybe a goose flew by.
I don't know.
Who's? Well, what am I paying that Comcast for? What are they ripping
I
me
have
off?
no idea.
That's a very good question. I ask that every time we get our bill.
Yeah, I wonder.
I'm sitting next to the router. It happened with my last computer too. As soon as I walked 10 feet away, here I'm next to it. Anyways, it's a lot of yard sites this week. It's Kalman's yard site, Kalman Chatowski.
Oy.
Chaim to Kalman.
Yes, I have
And
long.
Dr. Roseman and
I have a long memory with Kalman Khatovsky. I knew him when I was a little toddler.
You were a little toddler?
I used to walk the show with him every Shabbos.
You mean
Oh,
you
yeah?
toddled? You toddled him?
When I used to go to show at Beth Israel with my grandfather was there. My grandfather passed away. He was vice president of the show. Afterwards, I kept going to show. Well, how did I go to show? I went to the Rosh Hashanah show, and Kalman Chaitovsky lived on Melha Street, would walk by my house. So they'd stop by. I'd go with them every Shabbos to show.
okay.
So because Malka Chaitovsky was in my class.
Which one's Malka?
The oldest girl of the girls?
I think her husband died. Bob Foynt said that Irv's husband died a few months ago. I mean, Irv died.
I don't know.
Okay. So anyways, that's that and a few other people. We're on page 103, Chayei Sarah, chapter 1, called The Strength of Sarah. These are short. They have a staccato chapters here. Let me share my screen. I'm going to open up. Today's December 22nd?
Yes.
I hope so.
Alan,
Yeah.
big enough for you to see?
I see perfectly.
Good.
Good.
Said the blind man.
Not blind anymore.
Okay. So, as we've had many times, there are 4 primary ways to expand the spelling of Hashem's name. The second highest equals 63, and that's as follows. The Yud Vav Daled, Hey Yud, then Vav Aleph Vav, and Hey Yud. Can you all see my cursor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The primary letters, of course, equal 26. The Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, which means the secondary letters equal 37.
Right. That's 63.
Yes. So 26 and 37 is 63. 37 is the gematria of the first word of the parsha. Va-yi-yu.
Mm-hmm.
Which is in bold. So the Torah says, Va-yi-yu Chayei Sarah. The life of Sarah was 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. The word for was or they were, translated by itself would be they were, is 37, the same as the secondary letters of the name that equals 63. The name of 63 corresponds to Bina, right? We've had that. The top 72 equals Chachma, is for Chachma. 63 corresponds to Bina. Sarah also corresponds to Bina. Now, here I didn't get this totally, but basically what it says is that the divine energy, what they usually call beneficence, shines from Yesod of Ima into Tiferes. Remember, Ima is Bina. So from this Bina or Ima shines into Tiferes. Tiferes is the center of gravity for the Ze'er Anpin. So Tiferes can be a placeholder. Tiferes specifically can be a reference to the entire Ze'er Anpin. The emotions of the intellect become the intellect of the emotions. Who got that? It's very simple. The emotions of the intellect become the intellect of the emotions. So Bina, all the spheres have two parts, two sections. They have a section of intellect and they have a section of emotions because they all have subdivisions of the 10 spheres. Each of the 10 spheres has also subspheres of the 10 spheres. So within each of the spheres, the top 3 are referred to as intellect. The bottom 7 are referred to as emotions. So here we're talking about the second of the 10 spheres. We're talking about Bina. Bina belongs to intellect. Within intellect, 3 are intellect and 7 are emotions. Really, the intellect and the emotions, I guess, would have a hard time relating or interacting. So the way that we get around this is that the lower part of Bina, the emotions of Bina, become the intellect of the emotions, the upper part of any of the emotions. So which means that the Ze'er Anpin within Bina, the subspheres of Bina, which are Ze'er Anpin, then they move to Tiferes, which is emotions, and they become the intellect of Tiferes. They become the intellect it's the intellectual component of the Midah of Tiferes, or the sphere of Tiferes. Tiferes is the pivotal Sephira of Ze'er Anpin. What did I call it before? The center of gravity. When the Torah says the life of Sarah was, it means, remember, we said 37, connecting with the name of 63 from Bina. It means it's another way of saying Sarah's life was dedicated to bringing the power of Bina into Tiferes. Sarah's life was all about bringing Bina lower into the Ze'er Anpin. Okay? So Alan, and that's, I think, the best way to explain it. Alan, go ahead, page 103.
The strength of Sarah. The life of Sarah was 127 years long, the years of the life of Sarah. The numerical value of the word for was, the first word of this verse, Vayu, is 37. The mystical significance of this is that since Sarah personified the divine attribute of Gevurah, all her life force was derived solely from the spelling out of the name Havaya, whose numerical value when spelled out is 63, which is 37. Vayu, which is Vav Yud Hey Yud Vav, 6 plus 10 plus 5 plus 6 plus 10 plus 6 is 37. There are 4 principal ways the name Havaya, Yud Hey Vav Hey, is spelled out in Kabbalah, giving the 4 numerical values of 72, 63, 45, and 52. To arrive at the value 63, the name is spelled out as follows: Yud Vav Dalet, Hey Yud, Vav Aleph Vav, Hey Yud. 10 plus 6 was 4, plus 5 plus 10, plus 6 plus 1 plus 6, plus 5 plus 10, which is 63. If we consider only the letters used to spell out the four main letters, that is, the letters that are not in boldface here, we see that their numerical value is 37. These four ways of spelling the name Havayat correspond respectively to the four main partsufim, Abba, Ima, Zer Anpin, and Nukva, which in turn are constructed from the Sephiros of Chachma, Bina, the Midos, and Malchus. Thus, the 63 name is associated with the Ima and Bina, which are on the left side of the Sephira tree, the Gevura axis of the Sephiros. Sarah was the first matriarch of the holy Jewish people, and is thus naturally associated with the parts of Ima, the mother.
Okay, and the next page, 104, he explains.
Hold on.
You're fading.
Fade away, far away.
Your voice faded.
Okay, can you hear me now?
No,
Barely.
Still far away.
Okay, how's this?
Better.
No.
So
Little bit.
frustrating.
Little bit.
Okay.
No, it's not good.
It's like you change microphones.
Oh.
Mute my audio.
I think it's better now. Talk to us.
How's this?
That's
Anybody-
good.
A little better.
Yeah, that's good.
That's crazy. Okay, thank you guys. So you solved my problem. You guys are technological geniuses. All right. So the next part, this big thing explains that what I said before already, what I read in the notes, what I wrote in the notes, that that from Bina, it goes down into Zerampin, primarily into Tiferes. So that Sarah is engineering. Sarah is pumping the divine energy, the godly energy, from Bina down through the Zeir Anpin, keeping it flowing, keep the line moving, and keeping it flowing. Which as we said, this is what a healthy, stable world looks like. So that's this big thing. Okay, I'm not exactly sure if it's the Tiferes within Bina or if the Tiferes part of Zeir Anpin. I think it's the Tiferes part of Zeir Anpin. It's just one of those things that aren't clear. Every once in a while we come across here. So 104, Alan, continue.
The life force of Sarah is revealed when the light of Yesod of Ima is revealed in the first third of its Tiferes. For it is there that the states of Gevura begin to become revealed. The Yesod of any Partzuf is the drive of that Partzuf for self-actualization. The self-actualization of Ima occurs when the mentality it embodies is transferred to the central pivotal Partzuf, Zeir Anpin. However, the mental brilliance and intensity of Abba or Ima is beyond the capacity of either Zeir Anpin or Nukva to assimilate, since the latter two partsufim are constructed out of the divine emotional attributes, Chesed to Malchus, rather than the intellectual ones, Chachma and Bina. Thus, it is the midos of the higher partsufim that become the intellect of the lower partsufim. The analogy for this in everyday life is based on the idea that Zeir Anpin and Nukva are considered the offspring or children of Abba and Ima. When someone wants to transmit his value system or ideals to his children or students who are his children in the educational sense, it is a mistake to think that all he needs to do is educate them to appreciate the value of his philosophy intellectually. Rather, common sense and experience assert that serving as a role model for one's pupils or children is not only the best way to educate them, but the only way to educate them. Preaching will almost surely fail if the preacher does not practice what he preaches. The teacher's behavior, his netzach hod yesod, becomes the driving intellect, chachma bina das, of his charges. Furthermore, the teacher's emotional involvement and excitement with the subject he is teaching will ignite in his students the will to dedicate themselves to the cause and purpose it ends. In other words, his midos, chesed, gevurah, teferes, will become the will, keser, of his charges. Thus, since teferes is the central sphere of the emotions and is the combination of chesed and gevurah, we are taught that the teferes of Ima becomes the keser of Zeir Anpin. Specifically, when the light or energy of Yesod of Ima reaches the level of Teferes, Teferes is imbued with the self-actualization of Yesod and can vitally serve as this Keser, or source of the will to be, for Zeir Anpin.
Okay, thank you. So I think what it says here, what you read, Alan, is that in order for intellect to be transmitted, it is done through emotion. This idea first, I was aware of it first time I heard the speaker, and he said that a nice bowl of chont was mekarev, brought someone close to Yiddishkeit, many more than an intellectual discussion. You want to bring someone close to Yiddishkeit? Have them sit at the Shabbos table with you. Enjoy the Shabbos atmosphere. It's not the topic, the power of your argument. You're going to convince them of the truth of Torah. The people are brought in through the emotions, through the good plate of chont, through sitting at the Shabbos table with the emotional impact that setting has. In a discipline called, or a study called brain-based learning, which I've taken, had some training in, read a few books on. In brain-based learning, they speak about how to get a child to remember something, teach a child something, they should remember it, understand it. And the way to reach them is through the amygdala. The amygdala is a part of the brain. It's at the base of the brain, and it's the lowest of our brain functions. But it's where we it's where our emotions get involved. So you think about your memories, and if you have if there is something with a very strong emotion involved, like something where you were embarrassed a lot, something like, so then that you remember very well. Okay, but it's sitting and learning some intellectual idea you don't remember. So it's really through this. So in this brain-based learning, they speak about how to convey an idea, how to teach a concept through using emotions, using by stimulating the amygdala. I think the amygdala, again, it floods your brain with, I think, norepinephrine. Does that make sense, Dr. Uji? I think it floods your brain with norepinephrine.
Sounds good.
The serotonin.
Norepinephrine.
With the norepinephrine. So
Serotonin.
It's
just
just a
one.
chemist.
Anyways, so
After all,
it,
right?
so they speak about it's through what I'm saying is it's also you find this idea in current theory that it's that the memory happens, learning happens through the emotions. And so and also obviously if someone has a negative experience, they're going to be turned off. So that's to me seems a little bit what it says here about the importance of emotions in conveying, in teaching, in giving over an idea, so that the intellectual idea is done through emotions. Anyone want to share or ask or argue?
I think
I think that process is correct, but sometimes there's an intellectual danger in codifying it into that process, because I think real learning goes beyond what we call intellectual. I think it's tapping into something way beyond reason, and way beyond analysis or rational thought. Not that rational thought isn't very important. So I think the word intellectual, particularly when we group Chachma in there, becomes a real problem. I think real learning is tapping into Kesser beyond Chachma. Atik Yomen, for example, we had last week, pleasure, will, that, which is deeper and more fundamental to real learning and real change. That's just my little 2 cents.
Okay, good, thanks. Okay, let's go back to the okay, 3. So Bina, the level of Sarah, is the source of Keser or of Zer Anpin. Is the source or Keser of Zer Anpin. In fact, Sarah equals 505, Sin Resh Hey. Harosh means the head is 506. With the Kolel, they're equal. The head is another way of referring to Keser. Gershon, you want to go on?
Where are we? The life force? No, where are we now?
104.
Yeah.
And near the bottom, Sarah thus becomes.
Sarah does become the Keter of Zerampim. This is alluded to in her name, since Sarah is the same numerical value as the word for the head, Harosh, with the Kolel. Sarah, Sin Resh He, 300 plus 200 plus 5, 505. Harosh, He Resh Aleph Shin, 5 plus 200 plus 1 plus 300, 506.
Okay, one moment. Number
3.
4. We can see this idea that Sarah was the Keser from Bina for Zerampin in the Torah's description of her years. The Torah says that her years were, or life was, 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. 100 is the totality of Keser. 10, with each 10 being subdivided into 10. 20 refers to Chachma and Bina. And I think this is all saying within Keser.
Yes.
20 refers to Chachma and Bina within Keser. And 7 refers to the Midos within Keser. And this is why she lived, this is the significance of the Torah saying that she lived 127 years, 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. Okay,
Plus
continue.
Malchus. Plus Malchus. It's Midos plus Malchus.
Including Malchus.
Yeah.
Usually, when we talk about this, the midos, are very often we're including malchus. That's 7, and
Okay.
that's especially in Hasidus. In Kabbalah, we speak more about the 6 of Zeranpin.
6, and then, yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm just-
1 for Nukva.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
in Hasidus, we much more speak about the
We
malchus.
include it. Okay.
Yes. Okay, go ahead, Gershon.
As an expression of Keter, she lived as follows. 100 years were an expression of the Keter of Keter, since the higher an entity is, the greater its numerical value. Thus, Keter expressed the numerical idea of hundreds inasmuch as all its 10 aspects, sub-sephiros, are further subdivided into 10 sub-sephiros. 20 years were an expression of Chokhmah and Bina of Keter, since these only express the numerical idea of tens. 7 years were an expression of the 7 lower sephiros of Keter, that means from Chesed to Malchus. These express only the numerical idea of units. The relative intensity of the sephiros is thus divided into 3 levels: the super intellect, the intellect, and the midos. This relative intensity is reflected in the fact that the first level is represented numerically by hundreds, the second by tens, and the third by units. So we have 1 times 100 plus 2 times 10 plus 7 times 1, 127.
Okay, number 5. The pasuk begins, the life of Sarah was, and then in 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years, and then it concludes the years of Sarah's life. And then it finishes and wraps it up. It says the years of Sarah's life. So what this says is that at first, so when we read the pasuk, at first it says, Vayiyu Chayei Sarah. This was the life of Sarah. And it's the end, it says, these are the years of her life. So what it's saying is at first, starting off, 127 was her life. 100, all about Kesser. The super Kesser, the super intellect, the midos, everything within Kesser, that was her life. Then it goes through the years, and it says that after her life was completed, this idea was also expressed in how many years she lived as well. Okay, go ahead, this number. And while you do that, I need to wash my hand and put away before I eat the rest of the cake.
This number, thus, was the number of years she was destined to live. Once she lived them out, they became the years of her life. This explains the seemingly redundant phrase at the end of the first verse, the years of the life of Sarah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. G. And that is the end of this chapter. Any reactions, feedback, thoughts, reflections?
Well, I think it's also worthy to note that the, can you go back up to 1, please?
Yep.
The first word, Vayiyu, right, has Hashem's name in it. It's just missing.
Okay.
It's missing the hey, but it almost has the Yud K Vav K in it. With
Yep.
the Yud and the Vav, which is also the significance of the male and the female. I just find that very interesting. So I was just reflecting on that.
One of the things that's interesting is how we find significance in everything, even what seems to be minor points. Like so the word equals 37. Before this class, if I would have asked when I first saw this 37, I was thinking, so what's significant about 37? Okay, here's something. 37 is the 63 name without the primary letters. So it's the hidden part of the 63 name, embedded part of the 63 name. And so you find there's like significance in all these little things that the first time many years ago, before we started learning this, a year or two before, I happened to be sharing something like this to one of the people in the group, and the response was it's contrived. And I think about that, and in many ways it appears contrived. But there's so much, and there's so much connections that you feel that there has to be something more to it, that it has to be very real.
It's also interesting that the Vav and the Yud almost forms almost like bookends around the Hey. Again, it's a very fascinating word and what it implies. And I think it also signifies how incredibly important Sarah was to mankind in Yiddishkeit, right? Hashem's name is in it. And just reflecting, just some thoughts.
Does anyone here know what a palindrome is? Got 2 yeses, 1 no.
No.
Palindrome is something, a word or a number or a sentence.
Spelled the
That's the
same way
same.
both ways.
That's the same frontward and backwards.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's a word, if it's 4 letters, it would be A, B, B, A.
Yeah.
If it's 3 letters, it would be A, B, A.
Yeah.
5 would be A, B, C, B, A. The most famous one is Madam, I'm Adam. Another famous one is race car. Same frontward and backward. So Vayiyu is a palindrome, Rudy.
Yeah,
The same frontward and backward.
that's correct.
The Balaturim points out when it says that all the people have to give the half shekel, when they're going to count the people, and they all give a half shekel for the Mishkan. So it says the word vinasnu, and the Balaturim says that vinasnu is the same frontward and backward to teach you that when you're giving tzedakah, that Hashem pays you back, comes back to you. So that was one specific one that actually someone pointed out to me that I've seen. But obviously we find here that there's nothing that's insignificant. The fact that that some words are palindrome, there must be significance to it. Obviously 3-letter palindromes are much more common.
Sure. No, go ahead.
If you Google palindromes, you can probably find a list of 20, 30, 40
at least, yeah,
words and also sentences. Full sentences could be 4, 5, 6 words, that the whole sentence from front to back is a palindrome as well.
So
the hay, if you look at it, concentrate, is surrounded by the 2 yuds, which is the 2 higher forms of the Chavaya, and it's on both sides, and then its extension is the Vav, which is the Midot on the ends, and the Hey being the center, which is Bina, which is Sarah. So the Vav Yud Hey Yud Vav is extremely powerful, just to meditate upon as the progenitor of us, our mother.
Is there not another inflection with Chayei, that you have the 2 yuds? Does it not infer lives as opposed
Lives,
to a single life.
lives, yes,
Lives?
lives, yes,
These are the lives of Sarah.
yes.
There are a few words in Hebrew that are intrinsically plural and don't have a singular form. One of them is Chayim, life. Life is, I don't know how you say it. Life is a plural form, Chayim. There is a word Chai, living, Chayei, the life, perhaps the life of. But Chayim, life, is a plural form. The other ones are Mayim, water, Shamayim, which is the heavens.
Heavens, yeah, which is
And-
necessarily plural.
Huh?
It's necessarily plural.
Yes, there's no singular form. And there might be another one or two that I can't think of.
Geshem, rain?
Geshem,
No?
no. No, no. Geshem itself is a singular form.
Is?
Yeah, if we talk about multiple rains, we would add Yud Mem, Geshamim.
Geshem, yeah,
It's extremely powerful. Just
yes.
looking at the letters themselves are amazing. The formation, not just the gematria, of course, but the letters themselves just pop out sometimes.
Especially this font, that the
Yeah.
Yud and the Vav are just one line, and there's no horizontal line. They're only vertical lines.
Right. It's unbelievably powerful.
All right, very nice. Okay, we're gonna open our next guy here. Okay. Let's see. This is only too long. Sarah 127 years. Okay, Sarah corresponds to Malchus.
You're not
Malchus.
sharing.
Sorry.
Yeah, we don't see.
No, I didn't.
You didn't share.
I didn't share. I'm just looking at it.
Wants to keep it all to himself.
I don't think so.
I know.
Gewalt. Hold on, let me try this again.
It's tough when you get old, you forget to do things, right, Jim?
Oh my goodness. Yep.
Hey, who's old?
Yep.
Old is a state of mind.
Yep.
It doesn't want to show it.
Doesn't want to show it. All right. Well, you read it.
Yeah,
No,
sure.
we gotta get this done. Wonder if I could do this.
I'll look at it on my phone then.
There we go.
There, not, yeah,
Yeah, we got to go farther though.
What do you see now?
It was there, then it went away.
What do you see now?
Information. It's like a
We see, no, you, that's you know, the next one.
we got to go.
That's the one we just did.
Yeah. Continue on. We're stuck on 2.
Yeah. This is not right. Let's try again. 1 minute. Boss, you're a genius. Sarah corresponds to Malchus. Okay, we just said that Sarah corresponds to Bina, okay? This chapter, forget everything we told you till now. Now Sarah corresponds to Malchus.
Oh.
Malchus is the feminine counterpart to Ze'er Anpin. See, that's fine. It's very flexible. It could be whatever we want it to be, chameleon. Malchus is the feminine counterpart to Ze'er Anpin, the Midos, and Bina is the feminine counterpart to Chachma, the intellect. So it is possible that to say that Sarah corresponds to both Bina and Malchus. Sarah means nobility, which also could be an appellation.
Malchus.
for Malchus, a royalty.
Yeah.
Okay. What we're gonna say here is as follows. The name Adni, Aleph Dal Nun, also corresponds to Malchus.
Mhm.
Now we have a name here, we call it the square of Adni. In other places, we call it regressive form of Adni.
Mhm.
Here we call it a square of Adni. Is the first letter plus the first two letters, plus the first three letters, etc. Aleph, Aleph Daled Nun, Aleph Daled Nun Yud. This is the meaning of Sarah died in Kiryat Arba, which is Hebron. Kiryat Arba means the city of four,
Mhm.
meaning the four parts of the squared name. Aleph is one part, Aleph Dalet is another part, Aleph Dalet Nun is third, and Aleph Dalet Nun Yud is the fourth part. Now Hebron means combined, because the four parts are combined into one squared name.
Mhm.
Finally, the gematria of Adni squared. The gematria of Adni squared
No.
is 126. I don't mean Adni is 65, 65 times 65. I mean what we just talked about, the square of Adni. The gematria of the square of Adni is 126. With the kolel, it's the same as Sarah's year's 127. As we always say, that close doesn't count except in three things: horseshoes, hand grenades, and gematria. Jim, please read 105, chapter 2.
127 years. Sarah died in Kiryat Arba, which is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. Abraham came to eulogize Sarah and weep for her. Sarah embodied the divine attribute of Malchus. Bina and Malchus are related, since Bina is the feminine correlate of Chachma, Malchus is the feminine correlate of the Midot. Bina is called the higher mother, the mother of the Midot, while Malchus is called the lower mother, the mother of the subsequent worlds that are created out of it. The word Sarah itself, moreover, means ruler, prince, and is thus thematically related to Malchus, which means kingdom. The Kesser of Malchus is the fourfold expansion of the name Adni. The name Adni is usually associated with the Sephir of Malchus, since it means my lord, my master. Specifically, the most complete iteration of this name, its fourfold expansion, signifies the highest level of Malchus, the will to rule, or Kesser, of Malchus. The fourfold expansion of Adni, which is Aleph, Daled, Nun, Yud, is how this name is spelled out in a series of steps. First step is the first letter of each subsequent step, and each subsequent step is the addition of another of the letters, Aleph, Aleph Daled, Aleph Daled Nun, Aleph Daled Nun Yud. The fourfold expansion comprises four states: Aleph, Aleph Daled, Aleph Daled Nun, Aleph Daled Nun Yud. This is why Sarah died in Kiryat Arba. Kiryat Arba means the town of the four. Yet these four states all compose one unity and combination. This is why Kiryat Arba is also known as Hebron. Hebron literally means combination or joining. The iteration of this expansion expresses the unity of the first letter with the subsequent letters. This is another reason why Sarah lived 127 years. And as an expression of this name, Adni, for this number is the same as its numerical value, that of its fourfold expansion, 126 plus the kollel, 1 plus 1 plus 4, plus 1 plus 4 plus 50, plus 1 plus 4 plus 50 plus 10 equals 126.
Okay, thank you. Reflections. contemplations, feedback.
It's amazing also how we've talked about Sarah in one sense earlier with Bina, and how it's so powerful as the progenitor of us. The other end of the progenitor of us is how she came into the world with all of this and physically bore us, and is our essentially mother, ruler, no princess. I know it talks of prince, but princess, and that's through Malchus, because through Malchus comes the world of action and life. So the life force is flowing through it, as well as the benevolence of through intellect manifesting itself through Tiferet. So it's both.
Aside from being husband and wife, were Sarah and Abraham were related, weren't they?
This
Yes.
is his niece, right?
Her father was Haran, the brother of Abraham.
She was his niece.
Yes,
Yeah.
are you familiar with her story of her father?
Please
The
go ahead.
king, what?
Go ahead.
King Avram's father, after Avram smashed the idols in his
Yeah, yeah.
father's store, his father brought him to the king, and the king threw Avram into the furnace.
Right.
The brother Haran said, "Let me see what happens with Abraham. I'll see which way the wind blows." When Abraham was saved, they said to Haran, "And what about you?" He said, "I'm with Abraham." They threw him in, and he
He dies. Yeah, he dies.
died. So he left two daughters, Milcah and Yiska. Yiska was another name for Sarah.
Okay.
What's Yiska in English? Yiska in English is Jessica.
Oh, okay.
Never hit me until a few months ago. I
Right.
read of someone who had been a rabbi and then changed their identity. And with their new identity, they assumed the name Jessica. Or
Yeah.
Yiska.
Oh. It
Oh,
must be from Pakistan.
So
What?
I never.
I know a doctor who
The Democrats are giving $70 million to Pakistan for transgender.
yeah, why not? I know a doctor from Hartford who Jewish doctor who
All
became Jessica. Insane, absolutely
So-
insane.
It's not just the Democrats, Rudy. It's Democrats and Republicans. In this case, they're all cut from the same cloth.
It's
So-
insane.
So, anyways, it hit me then. I never thought of it that Jessica is Yiska. So, anyway, so Yiska was Sarah's other name, probably original name, and then the other one was Milcah. Milcah married one of, so their father Haran died. The two girls are left. Milcah married Haran, married Nahor, Avram's brother, and Yiska married Abraham. They had a brother whose name was Lot.
Yeah.
And Haran was Abraham's brother from another wife.
Huh.
Abraham and Haran had the same father, Terach,
Different mother.
different mothers. That's why Abraham tells Avimelech that indeed she's my sister. She's a daughter of my father, but not of my mother.
Right.
They had different mothers. So yes, she was his niece and the daughter of Haran. And what was the name? Now we're on the subject. What was the name of Abraham's mother? You heard it? I may have said it before.
I think you've said it before, but I can't remember.
I don't know.
Her name was Salai.
I'm sorry.
I'm so light.
Yeah, we're not sure of the vowels, but of Salai or Talai. And
Mhm.
her father was Carnival. Sounds a little bit like carnival. She was Talai Bat Carnival.
Hmm.
Who else had the same name? The mother of Haman had the same name. She was also Salai,
No
Oh,
kidding.
but her father was Urvi, or I think Urvisa or Urvina.
Is this Medrash?
It's Medrash, but it is printed in the Gemara.
Uh-huh.
So if you forget and you want to remember, just Google, and it'll send you straight to the Gemara. The Gemara says, why do we need to know this? And it says, in case someone says that Avram, who said Avraham existed, tell me his mother's name. So we know his mother's name.
Huh.
So you can find it very easily on Google.
Hamsalai.
Oh.
Amazing.
Yeah, Avram and Haman.
Hmm.
All right. So let's look at the next one. We certainly can begin. And maybe, well, I don't know if we'll finish. I don't want to rush you guys, you know. See, those were freebies.
Freebies.
you like
Nothing,
the freebies.
nothing is free.
No.
Learning
They're
Torah is
extras.
free.
They're
Moshe taught
extras.
us for free. Okay. In the Torah, a few letters are written smaller. You're familiar with this, I'm sure. And a few are written larger. In the Torah and Tanakh. Avraham came to eulogize Sarah and to cry for her. The letter Chaf in and to cry for her is written small. Let me put that in Hebrew. Believe Chaf is, let's make it a little smaller. Okay, can you see that that's smaller?
Yeah.
Okay, it's written small. Our sages teach regarding the 7 days of mourning, 3 days are for weeping, 7 days for eulogizing. In other words, there's a progression. There's a progression with the mourning that gets less and less, or it's not as visible over time.
Mm-hmm.
The small chaf indicates that we limit our crying to the first 3 days. So far, and that's why it's a small chaf. So far, it doesn't explain why the letter chaf. It could have been any letter. It talks about the chaf next, but till here it just says that we limit our crying. That we limit our crying. And that's why there's a small chaf. Okay, Jim, please continue. 107.
Weeping and eulogizing. Abraham came to eulogize Sarah and weep for her. A small number of letters in the Torah scroll are written either larger than usual or smaller than usual, according to traditions going back to the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. The word for to weep for her at the end of the second verse, Livkosa Lamed Beit Kuf Tov Chei, is written with a small chaf. The reason why the letter chaf in to weep for her, Livkosa, is written small is because our sages say 3 days for weeping, 7 days for eulogizing. Okay. The small chaf indicates the days for weeping are less than those allotted for eulogizing. The 7 days of mourning are divided into 2 periods. During the first 3 days, the mourner is to both weep and eulogize his lost relative. The last 4 days, he is to eulogize him, but not weep for him. Of course, feelings and emotional reactions cannot be legislated per se. The point is, there's a progression of stages of mourning. And Jewish practice is designed to help the mourner through these stages and encourage him to progress from stage to stage, making the mourning process into a transformational spiritual growth process.
All right.
Very
3.
good.
There are 2 forms of the letter chaf. The chaf in the beginning or middle of a word, and then chaf at the end of the word. The regular chaf corresponds to Malchus. It's flat on the bottom so that the divine energy does not descend into klipa. Isn't
Doesn't go
diverted.
down.
It's not diverted into klipa. The final chaf corresponds to bina. It extends below the line to bring divine energy into Zerampin. The letter chaf also stands for keser, the first letter of keser. Malchus is the keser of the next level. The letter chaf here is small to make the connection to Malchus, to keser, which was which was personified by Sarah. And also, well, okay, that's that. So go ahead, read inside.
Yeah, both. Everything we just learned. So, as to why specifically the letter chaf is diminished, the esoteric reason is because Sarah was from the lower world, which is alluded to by a small chaf. In contrast, the final chaf always alludes to Ima, for she extends into Zeranpin, while the regular chaf refers to the parts of Rachel. As we said above, Sarah in her essence personifies Ima. But in this world, she also plays the role of Nukva Malchus. Relative to each other, these 2 feminine archetypes are called the upper world and the lower world. Just as we said above, they are also called the higher mother and the lower mother. Now, chaf is the first letter of the word keser. It is also shaped like a crown on its side. It thus typically indicates this sephira. Similar to what we said above, both Ima and Nukva become the keser of the levels immediately following and below them. Tiferet of Ima becomes keser of Zeranpin and Nukva. In its role as the origin of the subsequent world, serves as the keser of these worlds. In this way, both mothers are also crowns. The 2 forms of the letter chaf alludes to these 2 crowns. The general form alludes to Malchus, and the final form alludes to Ima. The difference between these 2 forms is that in the final form, the bottom flat base has been bent down to extend below the normative baseline of the letters. Thus, in Hebrew, the 2 forms of the letter chaf are often referred to as the bent chaf and the extended chaf. The extended chaf, which extends below the baseline, signifies a descent of keser into a lower realm. Here, this refers to the extension of Ima into Zeranpin, which we described somewhat above. In contrast, the bent chaf refers to Malchus, or as it is called here, the parts of Rachel. Sarah is here playing the role that will, as an archetype, be most fully embodied in Rachel, and therefore known after her.
Continue.
The chaf of Rachel is bent because she folds her legs upward so as not to extend them to the point where external forces can take hold of them. Where Nukva or Rachel to extend itself downward into the lower realms below its silus, as completely as Ima does into Zeranpin, this would allow the forces of separateness and evil to begin to exist at these levels, that begin to exist at these levels. Too much opportunity to derive life force or suck from this revelation.
Okay.
Boy, that's, wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, prevent a an interception or a fumble. 4, during exile, Malchus does not interact with Zeranpin. Right? We've had this a lot, right?
Yeah.
Zeranpin interacts with Malchus. During exile, they're not working so well together. The righteous are able to partially redeem Malchus and restore it to its rightful spot where it can interact with Zeranpin. When Yaakov died, the Torah says he gathered his feet onto the bed, meaning he elevated Malchus. And I think this corresponds to the idea of preventing the divine energy from being diverted, but rather Malchus is able to interact in a healthy way with Zeranpin without worries of an interception. Okay, and then so do the next paragraph.
Nowadays, during the exile, when she is, due to our sins below, the departure of the righteous from this world causes, wait a second, the departure of the righteous from this world causes their souls to elevate her. This is the esoteric meaning of the verse, and he gathered his feet into the bed. The condition of this exile is that Malchus is caught in the lower worlds and prevented from returning home to Atsilis to couple with her husband Zeranpin. Spiritually, this means that our means of expression, which is thought, speech, and action, exist unnaturally within non-holy contexts and are deprived of the true holy inspiration that is native to them. The death of righteous individuals who complete their mission in this world, however, serves to elevate and at least partially extricate Malchus from exile. When Jacob, right now I understand departure of the righteous. Okay, when Jacob finished blessings and commanded sons on his deathbed, he gathered his feet into the bed and he expired and was gathered unto his people.
Okay, and we'll come back to this in a minute. 5. In addition, Chaf refers to Keser, a diminished Chaf. Remember, we started this by having a small Kaf in the word V'liv Kosa that Avram came to cry for Sarah. A diminished Chaf implies something was missing from Keser. With Sarah's passing, Keser itself was diminished. This is why the square of Adni, which we discussed in Chayei Sarah chapter 2, equals 126, 1 less than 127, the age of Sarah. Okay, go ahead and read this. Actually, you can read it inside. There is a lot missing. For some reason, a lot of the Hebrew is not translated.
Yeah. Furthermore, the Chaf here is small because the letter Chaf signifies Keser, since with her death, the attribute of Keser was removed and lacking from the world. It is written small.
Yes, I filled in my notes. So what it says before, do you want to explain your question, Jim, or you want me to guess and start talking?
No, I get the departure of the righteous piece. I just feel so much sometimes, honestly, this very visceral feeling of exile that we're in now. I just feel it so intensely, and it's just very, very powerful, and it cries out for elevation. That's all I can say. I just feel that we are right here. I see it. I mean, I just see it daily. I just constantly, and sometimes it's very overwhelming. Well, and I don't think it's unusual that it's happening socially and politically and every other way.
Very troubling. It's extremely troubling.
I'm just saying that, it's just, that's all. Yeah, it's horrible. And maybe that's what has to usher in, Mashiach. I don't know, but maybe that's what's been fighting. But it's heavy duty right now.
What you're mentioning, it brought to my mind instantaneously a comment that my mother of Shalom used to tell me quite a bit, was when she was living through the war in Bremen in Germany, you knew who the enemy was.
Mm-hmm.
It was very clear. It was that person dressed in the gray uniform who was bashing down your door.
Yeah.
You knew that person was there.
Yeah.
Now, in current times, you don't know where the enemy is.
No, you don't know, and it's all around, and it's all around. It's almost palpable,
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no clear-cut uniform. It could be right next to you, it could be behind you, it could be in front.
Correct. Yeah.
You don't know where it is, and that's what makes it so disturbing.
Yeah.
It seems to be coming from all sides now.
Correct. Yeah, up, down, everywhere.
Yeah, which
encompassing almost.
Yeah, which again means that we are in messianic times, because
right.
this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, nothing else makes sense, but it's absolutely gutturally horrific.
Mm-hmm.
It does say that every day things get worse and worse. Since the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash,
mm-hmm.
every day is new tsaras, new problems. The Torah, in the admonishments, it says, in the evening you'll say, if it was only as good as it was this morning. The next morning you'll say, if it was only as good as it was last night.
Yeah.
And there's the famous Brisa Mishnah that speaks about how everything goes out of whack before Mashiach comes.
Mm-hmm.
That there'll be a lot of chutzpah in the world. The children will turn against their parents. The prices, inflation will go crazy. They'll defund the police. It says that they'll defund the police and cancel the police. But with weather, it'll go. The climate is going to go in haywire. This is all these things. But I would say that in spite of saying all that, having said that, that reading Tanakh and reading the Medrash and the Gemara and knowing history, you see that there have always been crazy times. Things have always been crazy. And I don't think that any of the Mishigasim that's going on, you'll find that didn't happen. And if anything, in many ways, things are much better and more civilized today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the difference is today, what happens on the other side of the world is reported in an instant. This has never before happened. The fact that news is so instantaneous, never before in the history of mankind has that existed. And that's what creates such havoc. It's like Jim said, it's palpable. It's almost like relentless. You're getting this constant barrage. Even if you were to turn off your television or shut off your phone or not get a newspaper anymore, it makes no difference. You're going to get it from somewhere. It's just going to come out and it's going to hit you.
Yep.
Yes. So I don't know if you've seen, there is, I think it's Nigeria. My son was there a few times. There are over 2,000 Christians have been killed by Islamists this year in Nigeria. a few months ago, I started doing some research on the origin of the word dollar, the name dollar. And there was a guy, like a Duke, I think it's Joachim Thaler, and maybe in Prague. And it was connected with the 30 Years' War, I think the 30 Years' War, a huge revolution going on, and civil war. And I think they caught the rebels, and they executed them in one day. And there's a marker, and reading about it and reading how they did this, it's like, what we can barbaric, but that's 400 years ago, and we have the details. You're reading, and you go back further, and you read the same what's it called? The same atrocities or similar atrocities throughout history. It could be that there's never been a time of so much world peace as there is today.
Mhm.
So few areas. So whatever. It's as crazy as things are. It's been, and then on the other hand, speaking about the bad news, and you read about it instantly. When have you had so many yeshivas,
Never.
buildings
Never.
worldwide,
Yep.
and thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people studying Torah
Mhm.
like you have today?
That's correct.
I don't know if there's ever been any time in history. Go look at the Siyum Hashas that they did last January.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then you go to, you see in Israel, and you walk a beautiful yeshiva building, another beautiful yeshiva building, a shul that holds 6,000 people, 7,000 people,
Yeah.
several of these. So you.
Oh, we lost them again.
Oh, it got frozen.
That goose flying over his
Yeah.
Comcast.
All right, dudes.
All right,
Good
guys.
night, everybody.
All right. Take care.
Augustin.
Have a good evening. Be well.
Good evening. Be well.
Stay
See you
healthy.
Yeah,
we can
you
see you in
guys
the
all
morning,
froze.
maybe.
4 of you froze at the same time.
You froze.
So you froze.
You see you in the morning, Rudy.
Yes, God willing. God willing.
So, anyways, we have to and this wonderful group that we have here that's learning.
That's right.
Yeah. No, look. That's part of the elevation. We know.
The issue is that Jim deals with it viscerally. I mean, it's in his face constantly, and to see how people behave the way that they do, it's just terrible.
You have a good day tomorrow.
Yes,
Thank you.
Tim. I was going to wish you a good day tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Thank you.
We'll tell you later.
Talk later. Bye-bye.
You recorded. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Sei gesund.
Okay.